Hi folks, Marty here. Today we're going to do this beautiful landscape um, picture that was sent to me, and I just love the sunset in this, and I love the harmonizing colors of the sky against the far distance, and how it all blends with the greens in the foreground. So we're going to give this a wee go. So first up, you basically establish where your horizon line is going to be, and it's really a case of if you want more of the landscape, the greenery in it, or more of the sky. So we're working on quite a small scale here, and it's just really a little test painting, which I would do before I'd go on to do a bigger painting and more considered. Right, so that's our horizon line, and as you see from the picture, it'll come up on screen. We've got that lovely iconic hill shape there, and I'm thinking of maybe putting it right about here. So just nice and gentle. Don't be digging in too hard with the pencil. Of course, if you're happier tracing this picture, that's another way of another approach to it. But I'm just going to do it by eye here as best as I can understand and work out what's going on. Obviously, there's no substitute for being on location, and uh, you're seeing it from a completely different perspective. When you're working from a photograph, it can be tricky enough. That's why it's good to get out and take your photographs and try and gain an understanding of what you're actually looking at. Okay, so you've got that hill part here, and then you've got a lot of trees coming down across here. So I'm just gently sketching them in. Um, and then go out this way. It's almost like a wee bit of forestry there. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just the overall impression you're looking for. So we've got a lot of trees in here. And then the field comes down to about here, and it seems to taper off that way. Okay, so back to this hill part here. Just putting a few wee markers in where I want to indicate that there's some fields in the edge of the fields. I mean, it's just the overall general impression that you're after here. It's not a photorealistic painting you're trying to achieve. And the good thing about doing a preliminary sketch like this, it just gives you an idea of how you're just working out where things are going, and what's working in the picture and what's not. This here we have a tree that comes up from the bottom of this picture, but what I might do is I may just move that on up into here. At the end of the day, it's doing it in such a way that you're trying to paint with integrity in terms of the actual subject, but you know, obviously you want to apply a bit of artistic license to make the thing look good as well. There's a few kind of loose trees here and there. Don't all have to be on the border. A bit of shadow. Okay, so our sunlight is on the photo. It's up about here. What I might do is I might drop it about here. So I'm just going to gently sketch this in here. I normally wouldn't sketch this in, but it's just to let you guys see what I'm thinking here. So if this is the sun here, obviously it's going to start casting its shadow this way. So it's just to remind me, I put this up here to remind me of what angle the sun is sitting in the sky. A few trees and so on here. Like this here part here, it's quite in the distance, so it's hard to know exactly what's going on, and you don't want to be overly detailed about the thing. So I think when we get to painting that, we'll keep that kind of very loose and impressionistic. Okay, so back to this foreground here. Just have bits and pieces coming in here. Trying to make the whole thing balanced. You don't want things all lining up either. You know, you want them kind of things offset. It just kind of looks better. Even though the photograph, or if you're painting in real life, it might be all lined up, it's not going to translate very well into a painting. So I think we'll work with that. And what I'm going to do is just get my eraser and just take out some of those lines here. They're handy for when you're just mapping out what you're doing. But they can also be a bit distracting as well. And, I'm just trying to remove anything like that. So once you've sketched in, it's just a case of taking a look at what you've done. And obviously if the sketch or the mapping out of the painting doesn't look great, it might not transfer very well into your painting. So it's a case of just taking a wee bit of time with that and sitting back and looking at what you've done until you're happy with it. Okay, and then this distance up here, there's a lot of low-level cloud. It looks kind of quite bluey. I think that's why what I love about this picture is it's how the blue harmonizes with the orange and the yellow. It makes it really work well. So if I do this area up here, blue, I don't want it to look like the sea, so I just gotta kind of watch that one. Be careful. So what I can do is when I'm actually painting this bit, I can put some blue in and then go in with a very washed out impression of further fields and trees. Okay, and then there's a bit more kind of hills and so on up here. Okay, what I might just do here is just sketch in a few wee lines and stuff just to remind me that it isn't water. Okay, so just wee impressions of trees. So on like that. So I'm going to remove that horizon line. It's great for when you're just mapping out, deciding on how to divide your page up. But at this here stage, it could get in the way a bit. So I'm just going to round that off just to make it look like it is hills and so on in the distance there. Okay. So I think that's come together. Okay. So I think I'll do this for our sketch. By the way, I'm just using a 2B pencil here. Anything from 2B up. 4B preferable, I think. So first of all, we need to decide whether we're going to do this wet into wet. We're going to wet the paper and then just drop our color on, or we're going to do wet on dry. It's quite a loose kind of sky in the photo, so I think it might be better just giving it that loose treatment. There's a couple of things you can do here for the sun. If you wanted, you could put some masking fluid on here, and then that will allow you to, paint away and drop your paint in without losing the highlight there. Also, you can just paint away and then get a wee tissue and just dab out that light bit. I think I might do that actually. So for painting this size, you want to get the right kind of brush. Okay, if it's a big brush is fine if you're laying down your washes, but it can be a problem then for a painting this small to kind of get those finer details. But so what we'll do is we'll move on to a smaller brush when we get to the trees and so on. Okay, so first up, it's getting the paint that you're going to use ready. Okay, so just put a wee bit of water into the wells here. And I'll keep my darks in this here one just to keep it divided. So in that picture, what I see is basically very light blue there. So I will use my cobalt there. And it's a case of making sure you have enough. You don't want it too strong, too dark. And then what I'll do here is for that sunsetty part of the sky, I'll get a bit of my orange color into it. And maybe throw in a wee drop of alizarin crimson. So this is like an Indian yellow, this color here. Okay, so what I might do here is do a wet into wet then. So it doesn't matter if it's a bit hit and miss. And then what I'll do is I'll get this orange color and I'll just drag out across the sky here. A wee bit stronger on that. Put a wee bit of yellow ochre into the mixer as well. Maybe a wee bit more of that alizarin. Okay, so as it goes down towards the horizon there, it does get a bit warmer. So what I might do is put a wee bit more pigment into it. Just try and carve around that hill there. Okay, so I'm just going to clean out my brush here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a wee bit of tissue. I'm just going to scrunch up a wee ball here. And I'm going to just lift out a section where the sun is, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to get the blue now. Just drop that in. And if it's not strong enough, just put a wee bit more colour into it. So in the photograph, it is quite washed out looking. Just trying to keep the thing very clean and not allowing it to get muddy. Okay, so I think that will do that. So what I want to do is kind of round off this area where the sun is. So I've just cleaned my brush. It's just a damp brush. It's just to soften that up a bit there, like that. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up a bit of a purpley color, purpley blue. Slightly thicker color, thicker concentration of pigment here. I'm going to drop a few wee clouds in here and there. In case I try not to overdo it. I would normally have my board sitting on an angle. But it's easier for the camera to show you what's going on here if it's flat. I think something along that line will do. Okay, so what I want to do here, I want to just, with a damp brush, I'll just want to soften up this area here. Because when I start bringing down, putting in that distant area, it is going to be quite soft. You don't want too much water on your brush for this bit here, else it'll start bleeding back up into your painting again. So I think something like that there. I'm going back into this again here. This darker color. Sometimes you've got to just experiment a wee bit, you know. Okay, that looks very blue and purpley, but it should tone down as it begins to dry out. Okay, I'm just gonna, with a brush that's been cleaned, most of the water, I'm just gonna go back up into that. Just soften that up a wee bit there. And then scrunch up a bit of tissue. Okay, so it's a bit of a mess at the moment, but as it begins to dry, it'll start looking a bit better. What I can do here now with a damp brush, I can just touch along the tops of some of these clouds here, like this here. Just to give the impression that the sun and the light is just bouncing off the topsies. This is me just lifting off some of the pigment. A dry brush or damp brush. And this time I will just put it in blue. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just going to soften up this edge a bit here. So we want to brown color this. Okay, looking at the picture, I see a bit of burnt sienna there. And just to tone it down, a lot of wee bit of maybe cobalt to it. Give that a wee go. Just trying to make this strong enough. One that they contrast with what's behind it. Okay, give that a go. This is a good place just to fix anything that isn't working. If you got the shape wrong, you can start actually reshaping what you're doing. Okay, I'll just put a wee bit of something darker. A bit of ultramarine there. Just at that peak there. Just run that in here. gonna at this stage I'm just gonna mix up some greens here. So it's just a case of getting some yellow and some blue. Now, this is going to be in the distance, okay? So we don't want to get too warm and saturated with those colors too early on. You want to keep them looking like they are in the distance. So you want to maybe go more towards the cooler end. And even though your picture, even though it might look a lot more vibrant, it's not going to translate very well onto a painting. Just bring it down to where those fields are, the outline. Come back in later on with the trees. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make up a bit of a darker color here. And that's going to be that little forestry bit there. So you go into your neutral tint, one of your darks, and then put a wee bit of yellow into it. Just get a nice strong consistency there. And then I'm just going to just randomly drop that in here. Comes down here as well. So you get this nice bleeding effect. While the paper's still a bit damp above it, works well. And then what I'll do is I'll just put a wee bit of this paint up here, just where the edges of the field are. It's all a wee bit hit and miss. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll move down into these fields in the foreground. Now, to give us the impression that it's coming closer to you, you want these colors to be a bit more saturated. So I'm going to be yellow this time in the blue. Okay, basically, stronger color, it's going to be more pigment in it. Now, you don't want to look too green and too toxic, so what you can do is add a wee bit of a more earthier looking color in it. I'm going to put some yellow ochre in here. Okay, so this field in the foreground here. A bit more blue for this area here, just to show that there's just a difference in those fields here. Give that patchwork quilt kind of effect. This bit up here is a bit more on the bluey kind of side of things. So I don't mind just dragging the brush across there and getting different effects. Let me put some of that nice browny color, that burnt sienna in the foreground here. That kind of merge with the greens. And we'll just drop some of that dark stuff in down here. Got a spotter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some darker color again there. A bit of yellow into it. Nice olive green. And then I'm going to do some more tree work here. Well, that's all still damp there. Just helps it to all just blend and diffuse out quite nicely. You can kind of do some trees along the border here. It helps to just frame that field at the middle distance there. If you need to soften it up, just use your wee spray. Just takes any hard edges you don't really like off it. And if you get too much, too much spatter there, I'm just going to spray that and just dab off any wee bits of unwanted spatter. And if there's anything you don't like there, you can always turn it into a bird. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a smaller brush and try and get a wee bit of detail here and there. So maybe a bit more blue in that for the trees and the distance there. what I might do is just drop a tree in the foreground here. Or certainly the impression of one anyway. Okay, I will dry that off now. Okay, so that's that roughly sketched in there. So what I'm doing now, I'm just looking at the original photograph and just looking for things that I could maybe just do to tighten it up a wee bit. I think first of all, let's get some wee birds in there. Just a kind of dark color here. And listen, so what you could do is you could look for any little drops of paint. Turn them into birds. Maybe another one over here. And just give it the impression that there's other fields and stuff going on here, you know. Don't be overboard with it, just a wee hint of something there. What I do now is I might mix up some of my shadow color. And I should go by now. That's cobalt blue, alizarin crimson, and a wee bit of yellow ochre. So starting with the cobalt blue. I want this too strong. A bit of the alizarin crimson and a wee bit of yellow ochre, just to tone it down a bit. And then what you can do here is maybe drop in a wee bit of shadow here and there. Nothing too much, just a couple of wee touches here and there. Okay, I think that'll do. So there you go, folks. It's just a wee paintable sketch, just trying to capture a wee bit of that atmosphere, this lovely photograph. And so what I would do next, I would work on paper twice the size of that. And then once I've worked out exactly what I want to achieve, then I'll do a more considered painting of it. But have a wee go at that anyway, and just think of it in terms of a patchwork quilt and dropping some nice loose trees in. It's not a photorealistic painting you want here. It's just a nice rough loose sketch just to try and capture a wee bit of that atmosphere. So have a wee go at that, and until next time, keep painting, and I'll see you soon.